Good afternoon, class. Welcome to this session of Strategic Financial Management. In our last session, we had discussed quite a few things, and there was a little bit of problem with the PPT presentation. I'm sorry for that. So, we had to use the whiteboard. So, now in our last session, we had discussed from types of forecasting, that is, economic forecast, social forecast, political forecast, and technological forecast. And we had discussed the importance of forecasting. Then we discussed regarding the environmental scanning and the factors what we have to consider for environmental scanning. And we said that there are four factors that we'll have to consider, that is event, trend, issues, and expectations. And we had taken the example of Bhopal gas leak accident which happened in December 1984, and with regards to this particular event, what is considered as event, what is considered as trend, what is considered as issue and expectation, we had discussed along with the example. And we had discussed the objectives of environmental scanning also. And we also discussed the need for environmental scanning, the approaches to environmental scanning, and sources of information from where we can collect data for environmental scanning. Mainly we have two, that is international source and external source. And we had also discussed the important source of information that we use when it comes to Indian context. In our today's session, we shall begin with methods and techniques for environmental scanning. Now, when we speak about this methods and techniques of environmental scanning, definitely there are a lot of types of environmental scanning which are used by different business organization and different business industry. So strategists can choose from anyone which suits their needs. The needs can be in terms of quantity data, it can be in terms of qualitative data, and sometimes it can also depend upon the availability of the information. For some of the scannings that has to be done, maybe the industry is very new and therefore the data available might not be very much. And it can be on timelines, it can be on application or relevance and expenditure that would be costing the business organization in collecting all this environmental data or environmental information also is considered when they'll have to select among the methods and techniques that they have to use in doing environmental scanning. Now there are many authors, uh, and among these authors, two of them called as Liebel and Kranzer, they have outlined 9 groups of techniques. And those 9 groups are, first one being unstructured expert opinion. The second one is structured expert opinion. The third one is called as single variable extrapolation. The fourth one is theoretical limit envelopes. The fifth one is dynamic modes. The sixth one is mapping. The seventh one is multivariable interaction analysis. Eighth one is structured in expert speculation, and the last one is unstructured in expert speculation. Now these 9 methods that has been mentioned in this particular slide, it has been given by two of the management authors, that is Liebel and Kranzner, in their research. But out of this, and among considering all other methods, there are quite a few environmental scanning techniques which are popular, which are being used by industries and business organization all over. And with this regard, the first one is structured or unstructured expert opinion. So what could possibly be structured or unstructured expert opinion? So from by hearing the name itself, we can understand what kind of environmental scanning probably this could be. Now here under, the opinion of the expert in the field of the business in the related industry is considered. Now working in similar type of markets, it can be used for the purpose of environmental scanning. So these people, they will have expertise knowledge about the business, as they are well aware of maybe the current trends, and their information, it may also be valuable in us predicting the future trends of the business. Now that is to tell, a person who wants to set up a restaurant. Now this particular person, he might seek opinion of experts in the same business. This would help him to know the prospect of the business, and the opinions, it can be gathered through a structured survey also, and also through informal talk with the expert. So these opinions may have and they may help in giving a clear picture of the business environment and also the future trend. That's why the name structured or unstructured expert opinion. But that is to tell, you can consult the experts in the particular industry with a formal structured way as to decide in advance what are the questions you are going to ask, um, and based on that you might consult the experts, or you can have a unstructured or informal talk also. Now both structured and unstructured way of interview, it has its own merits and its own demerits. When you have structured one, you would have thought in advance what are the things that you shall ask. So there is no chance at all that you might skip a particular thing. And the disadvantage about the structured one is, now you might be a fresher to the industry. Now those who are working, they know the industry well. So within your questionnaire, there are chances that there might be some of the important things that you might have skipped. Or also this fact that the respondents, they might have to tell something more regarding the particular field, but they would be having no option to speak about it. Now, with the unstructured expert opinion, the advantage is that mm, the respondents will not have limit as to what advice they can give or what they can share. So whatever they know, if they are willing, they shall definitely share. Now, with regard to this, the demerit is that yes, there are chances that some of the things might be skipped. So that is the first one. Now, the first one is regarding the expert opinion. So it can be either in the form of a structured opinion or it can be a unstructured one. The second one is extrapolation. Now, extrapolation. Now, this is the this is the statistical technique of ex, uh, environmental scanning. Now, this particular method, it helps to calculate the future trend from the data of current trend. The best example is, a company may use the data of sales of the last 10 years to predict the future sale trend. Now you have this way of calculating when it comes to statistics, where based on the last 10 years, you would be using the formula and calculating what is the trend, and for the future point of time you can calculate, you can predict. Now this method of scanning is also helpful. There are chances that a lot of time what has been predicted definitely is not going to be exactly the same, but in and around based on the trend and taking into consideration that the environment would behave the same, the trends for the future can be calculated under extrapolation. And we have the third one, that is estimate. Now this technique, it considers the best and the worst scenarios which the business may have to witness, and it considers the best and worst scenarios as a result of the change that happens in the business environment. So these cases, they are further used to predict more possible and probabilities of opportunities and threat which might occur in near future. That is what would be done under estimate, wherein which on based on the changes that are happening in the environment, they would be considering best and worst scenarios, and they would also look into the opportunities and the threats that the business might face. The fourth one is mapping. Now mapping, it is a tool that tracks the environmental factors so as to identify as to which factors are changing and how much change is there in each of those elements. So mapping also tries to uncover the rate and trends of change taking place in each factor. Whereas all the factors do not change simultaneously. And while some factors change frequently and others remain constant for some time. So, with regard to all these things, mapping is something which defines the direction of changes which takes place in environmental factors and also the level of changes. So I'll repeat it once again, that is mapping. Under mapping, it is a tool which tracks the environmental factors to identify that among all the environmental variables, which factors are changing and how much change is there in each of them. Now, mapping also tries to uncover the rate and also trends of changes which takes place in each particular element. The next one is modeling. Now, under modeling, there are various statistical tools which can be used for environmental scanning. Now, if I have to mention statistical tools, we have regression analysis, we have probability tables, and such other tools within which we can understand the business environment. Then we have chaos theory. Now, this particular chaos theory, it was given by two of the management thinkers, that is Edward Lorenz and Michael Fishbaum. It was given by Edward Lorenz. If you want, I shall spell it. Edward is EDWARD. The first name is Edward. The second name is Lorenz. Lorenz. And the second person is Michael Feigenbaum. Michael is Michael and Feigenbaum is Feigenbaum. These two persons, they came up with chaos theory. Now this chaos theory, it uses mathematical models. Now these mathematical models that are used under chaos theory are called as chaotic model. So these chaotic model, they interpret the process of non-linear and dynamic system. So here under, the phenomenon of chaos. So those things which are, not linear in nature, which are, dynamic in nature, those are observed in a wide variety of process like biological, sociological, meteorological and economical. So the applications of chaos theory in management may range from predicting market behavior. It can go towards financial forecasting, and also it can be found in anticipating competitive strategy also. So that is how chaos theory is used in management. Now I shall repeat it once again. It was given by two of the statistician management thinkers, that is Edward Lorenz and Michael Feigenbaum. This chaos theory uses mathematical models, and it uses what is called as chaotic models, and it interprets non-linear and dynamic processes. The next one is quest technique. Now, speaking about quest technique, this quest is quick environmental scanning technique. So quest represent quick environmental scanning technique. Now this quest theory or this quest technique, it is a process. Now under this process, we analyze various scenarios after scanning the environment and then come out with different strategic options that are available. Now this quest technique, it involves 4 steps. First one is internal strategists, or those strategists who work in the company. They will observe and identify the major event and trends in the business environment. That is the first process how it shall be done under quest theory. That is the internal strategists. They shall observe and identify major events and trends that are happening in the business environment. Once they identify the major events and trends, later they speculate on a wide range of important issues. Now these issues are the ones which might affect the future of their organization. Now once after that is done, they'll have to prepare a report. Now this report, it shall summarize all the major issues, and also it speaks about the implication of these issues, and they shall consider 3 to 5 scenarios wherein which they shall incorporate the major themes of what they have to discuss. Now once after they come up with the report, all the report and the scenarios, it shall be reviewed by a group of strategists who identify feasible strategic options to deal with the changing environment. So these are the 4 steps. First, they'll have to observe and identify. Second one, they'll speculate on the important issue. Third, they'll come up with a report which summarizes the issues and also speak about the implications. And the last, all the report that they have come up with and the scenarios, they are reviewed by a group of strategists who will identify feasible strategic options to deal with the changes that are happening in the business. So that is about quest theory. So we have, from the time we started this, we have discussed 7 major methods, that is structured or unstructured expert opinion, extrapolation, estimate, modeling, chaos theory, quest theory, and mapping. The next 2 is SWOT analysis and pestle analysis, which we have to deal in detail both of this. So, with that regard, the first one is SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT stands for the acronym Strength, Weakness, Opportunity, and Threat Analysis. Now, the SWOT analysis, it is an instrument framework which we use in value-based management and also in strategy formulation. Now, this SWOT analysis, it always provides the business organization in which it provides the management with in-depth information about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and also threats for a particular company or organization. Now, this SWOT analysis uh, or environmental analysis. Now, it is a process which enables any business organization to analyze and examine its related environment to find out all the existing opportunities and also threats that may affect its business. Now, it is one of the best process of studying the environment before taking decisions and formulating strategies. So, in the matrix, you have strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. If you see the y-axis, you have external origin, which represents both opportunities and threats, which speaks about the attributes of the environment. So as you move along higher in the y-axis, you have those elements which are of internal origin, that is strength and weakness of the organization, which represent the attributes of the organization itself. Now if you see the x-axis, there you have two elements, those elements which are helpful for the organization in achieving its objective, and those elements which are harmful for the organization in achieving the objective. Now, strength and opportunities represents the elements which are helpful, and weaknesses and threats represents elements which are harmful. Now, weakness, it can always be turned into the strength of the business organization by using methods and techniques. Threats will have to make the organization ready to face it. Now, maybe there are a lot of time chances that because threats are something which is posed by the external environment, it cannot be avoided altogether. But the organization can make itself ready to face such threats. Now, we can speak about some of the possible strength. The first and the foremost strength could be, the name recognition or the proprietary technology that the organization has, the cost advantage, um, skilled employees, the loyal customers. Now, the strength, they represents some of the attributes of the business which gives the business some kind of advantage in the entire industry, or especially it provides a competitive edge over its competitors. All such factors represents the strength of the business organization. Now, some of them has also been mentioned in your slide, that is low salary and benefits overhead. Now, this doesn't mean that they're giving low salary. What it is trying to tell is that when you compare two similar industries, or your business organization with the similar business organization or with that of your competitors. Now, each of the organization will have to pay all the overheads, especially the salary and benefits. Now, such overheads, if at all, the cost of such overheads is comparatively less, then that can be regarded as one of the strength for the business organization. And if at all the business has the ability to respond to the market changes in a faster way, then it also acts as a strength. Now, lightweight and flat hierarchy tells that this business organization, it is so dynamic that decisions are to be taken faster. Now, if hierarchy in the business organization is extensive, then it will always be a problem and it will always come in the way of taking faster decision. So it tells that if the hierarchy is very flat, then it shall always help in taking decisions faster. And now speaking about weakness, now it is a company's lack of ability. Now that can be a very vague statement when we tell it can only be a lack of ability. Sometimes it can also be a situation which might act as a disadvantage for the business organization in comparison to its competitors. Now this weakness, now it represents all those elements or characteristics which make such elements disadvantageous, especially relative to that of competitors. Now this weakness, it is an inherent limitation or a shortcoming of an organization. Now such shortcoming and such weakness, it can lead it to strategic disadvantage. But then remember one thing about weakness. Weakness are all such areas which are capable of improvement. Now the best example is my weakness might be that I do not know a good English. Now it is something inherent in me or a shortcoming that I have. But then it does not mean that this weakness cannot be overcome. Now if I use techniques wherein I can improve my language skill, definitely I can overcome such a weakness, and there are also chances that by using what has to be done or by doing what is necessary, we can always change the weakness into strength. The same in the business. Now, possible weaknesses could be, a very bad market image. This might happen because of situations which might arise along the way of doing business. Might be the organization is having limited finance. Now, there might be lack of efficient human resource, or there are chances that there is obsolete facilities. There might be internal operating problems, or there might be a very bad marketing skill that is present in the business organization, or the workload of the business might be very much more than what possibly can be done by the organization. The particular business might be very new to the business, and because of that there might not be any previous planning, or the organization might not be having experience. Now, due to a lot of constraints, there are chances that sometimes the organization might be missing expertise in some of the areas. Now, these are some of the weaknesses which business organization normally faces. Now, when we speak of this opportunity, now opportunity is something, you know, which is a favorable condition which exists in the organization environment and which enables it to strengthen its position in the market. That represents the opportunities. Now, these are those elements uh, in the business environment of a organization which are posed from the external environment. And such opportunities, it allows the business organization to come up with new strategies and implement all those so that they can be, do better business. Now, the examples could be there are some opportunities wherein the business organization might be able to increase its market share. Now, they can find new markets because of the opportunities that they are getting. And it can be anything which is advantageous to the business organization. Now, as against to the opportunities, the threat definitely is an unfavorable condition in the business environment, uh, which will always, not always, but they may adversely affect the business and cause a damage to the organization. So now these threats, they are anything from the environment that can adversely affect its performance or achievement of its goals. Now these threats, definitely we spoke that it is posed by the external environment, but then they can be external or internal. Now external threats could be, inflation, new legislation, or as simple as a new competitor in the particular market of the business organization. Now, while internal threats, now it could include, skill or staff skill shortage of the employees in the business organization, or the staff shortage in the business organization, or as mentioned in your slide, that the business partners might have less loyalty. There might be larger competitors who get, majority of market share and more. They might be a very famous brand, and the cost of technology invest might be higher for the business organization. Now, all these acts as threats for the business organization. Now, having seen all these elements, the relationship in the SWOT analysis, uh, as you can see in this slide, it is always represented by 2 into 2 matrix, wherein strength and opportunities are both positive consideration, while weakness and threats are both negative consideration. Now, something that has been not mentioned in slide is that the matrix, it identifies, yes, strength, weakness, threats and opportunity of a business firm. Now this formation can be used by company, in many different ways, in evolving its options for the future. Now, in general, the company should always attempt to, when it comes to strength, try building its strength. That is what the business organization has. Now, it is not that you have a very good ability to respond to the market changes in a faster way. Now if that is your strength, then it is not that you have to stop there. You'll always have to try build on the strength. Now what to do with the weakness? Now the business organization should always try to reverse its weaknesses. That is that whatever weakness it has, maybe the skills are not enough from the side of the employees. If that is the weakness of the company, then try employing individuals who are fit for the job. That is reverse the weakness. Now, what to do with the opportunities? With the opportunities, the business organization should always try to maximize its response. That is, wherever you have opportunity, wherever the business can see something profitable or advantageous for its business, the business has to maximize its response. So what about threats? Now, a business organization, it should always try to overcome all the possible threats that it might have to face in the way of doing business, and those which are forced upon it by its business environment. So with the strength, build what organization has to do is build its strength, reverse it reverse its weaknesses, maximize the response to opportunities, and overcome its threats. So that is something each business will have to do. So, half might be the final result of and SWOT analysis could be is something what has been displayed in your slide. Now this is a 2 into 2 matrix where you have factors both on x and y axis. On the y axis you have internal factors and external factors. On the x axis you have positive factor and negative factors. Now strength is an internal factor which is positive, and weakness is the internal factor which is negative. Opportunity is the external factor which is positive, and threat is the external factor which is negative. Now there within where it has been mentioned the example of each of those. Strengths could be any kind of patent, strong brand names, good reputation, advantage in cost because of proprietary know-how or proprietary technology, what we had seen in the previous slide. Or it could be exclusive access to high grade natural resource, favorable access to distribution. Now, high grade natural resource, we can take the example, one of the local example when it comes to our university. Now you might have heard this name of Planetis case. Now it is a flat that is there in there in Mangalore. Now, when the construction of this particular housing society was started, the constructors they had huge access to natural resource. Now, because of this, you know, they could cut down a lot of its cost. And if you want to know more information, you can always Google it and find out what uh, was one of the advantage that the constructors had got when they started constructing Planet SKS. Okay, and speaking about weakness, it can be in terms of you know patent protection it is, and the brand name might be weak, the reputation among customers might be weak, the cost that the organization faces might be high, there might be lack of access to the best natural resource and also to distribution channels. Opportunities could be in the form of an unfilled customer needs or arrival of new technologies or might be loosening of regulations and removal of international trade barriers. While threats could be shifts in consumer tastes, which is away from the firm's products, or emergence of substitute products, new regulation, and also increased trade businesses. So now we shall see role and importance of SWOT analysis. Now when we speak about role and importance, definitely the first four we can tell it as it identifies the strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. Now speaking about how it identifies strength, the internal environment analysis, it identifies the strength which includes maybe the resource of the organization, which might include the physical resource or the financial resource or human resource. That is really, when a company has superior technology in comparison to its counterparts or its competitors, then it becomes the strength. And this definitely can be identified by doing a SWOT analysis. And therefore, it is important that a business organization goes in for SWOT analysis. And along with identifying strength, it does identifies the weakness or the areas where a company needs some kind of improvement, and those areas which possibly might put the company in a disadvantage state in comparison to its competitors. So this analysis, it shall help the business organization or a company to spot such weakness, and not only spotting such weakness but also to take corrective actions. Uh, Now that is to tell, if at all the company is having lesser financial resource, it can be a weakness. But in order to work on this issue, the company will have to explore for different avenues to raise additional funds and thereby resolve this weakness. And it does identify opportunities. Now the external environment, it may have to offer many new opportunities for business, and SWOT analysis always helps a company in recognizing them. And the next one is it identifies threats. That is to tell, with many opportunities that the external environment can give for a business, it also leads a company to various threats, especially from competitors, the government, or from the policies. Now, because of SWOT analysis, early identification of such threats is possible, and it also helps a company to counter them in future. Now, for instance, the government may change the taxation policy, which may further affect the costing of the firm, and thereby business firms must take necessary steps to reduce the effect of all such damages. The next one is effective planning. Now, the SWOT analysis or environmental analysis, it also helps a firm in planning its future actions, and also it facilitates quick decision making. So, the planning exercise, it must take into account the internal and external environment, and the SWOT analysis, it always enables a firm to make well defined plan. And this SWOT analysis, it facilitates organization in organizing resources. That is to tell, environmental analysis it helps the organization to predict the future demand of their products, and once the future demand is product, it can enable it to organize its resources accordingly. Now, resources can be anything ranging from raw materials, human resource, financial resource, or even the physical resource. So, the organization can plan the requirement of resource so as to handle the activities of the market. The next one is the SWOT analysis helps to face competition. That is, the environmental analysis helps a firm to identify the strength and weakness of its competitors, which further enables the organization to counter the strength of the competitors and also exploit the competitors' weakness in its favor. And it is also the SWOT analysis also helps in making the operations flexible in nature. That is, as the business environment it keeps changing, the environmental analysis also enables a firm to adjust its operations according to all these changes that happens in the business environment. Now, speaking about this, the role and importance, yet again, the list is not exhaustive herein. It is just that some of it has been mentioned. Now, if you understand this well, you can always write this upon your own. So, the pestle analysis we shall see in our next session.